Hi, I'm gonna try. I've made a new channel, and I made it. It's called Universal Knowing, and I was gonna move there, but then I decided not to. So I don't know. I guess I took all the videos that I made from that channel, which is like 9 of them, and I put them in the playlist here. And some of them were on Saint Anselm and Aquinas, and the stuff about the cosmological argument that I've talked about before, and the ontological argument I've discussed before, and I put them in the playlists here. But I want to continue that here. Um, again, I'm using this anthology. It's Lewis Poyman anthology, Philosophy of Religion. It's quite extensive, actually. But in this whole cosmological argument section, um, there's an article in here by Paul Edwards. It's a critique of the cosmological argument, and it's it's actually not too long, but I guess there's a couple things I want to talk about in here that I found most interesting. But he kind of quotes Father F.C. Copleston, and he quotes Bertrand Russell, and quotes other people to help critique this argument. But he first of all he divides this argument into um, the causal argument and the argument from contingency bias, which was a thing in here by Samuel Clarke, which I did not discuss. But he first talks about the causal argument. Um, the causal argument is the second of the five ways of Aquinas, and roughly proceeds as follows. We find that the things around us come to being as a result of the activity of other things. These causes are themselves the result of the activity of other things. But such a causal series cannot go back to infinity. Hence, there must be a first member, a member which is not itself caused by any preceding member, an uncaused first cause. Now, Paul, knock it off. This is Paul. Look at the camera, Paul. Anyway. Paul. Okay. He's very, never mind. Okay. I'm gonna continue here. Um, he talks about this causal argument that it falls into. He talks about how talks about first the infinite series of causes. Now, I'm going to refer this to the epistemic regress problem. Now, that problem was, it's pretty much the precursor to contemporary epistemology that is, came here in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and today. That problem was that if we have a belief, we have a justification of that belief, and that belief itself, the justification needs a meta belief, which justifies that belief, and then we need a belief to justify that, which is a meta belief, and then it goes on infinitely backwards to where we have to have some sort of solution to this, regress, because these epistemologists don't want this kind of problematic infinite regress. Now, I want to discuss why this is problematic. Why this infinite regress is problematic. Now, Aquinas also discusses why this is problematic. first of all, he has this. Aquinas, and Edwards talks about it in here. This little chain. W causes X causes Y causes Z. And he kind of entertains the possibility of there being no first cause, and it just keeps going regressively backwards. What the problem is with that is that if there's no first cause, then it would, sort of be smart to infer that if there's no first cause, then there's no second cause. And if nothing caused W, W could not have caused X, and X could not have caused Y, and Y could not have caused Z. And for instance, Edwards brings up Harry Truman. Harry Truman's father could not have caused Harry. Harry could not have caused Margaret Truman if there was no first cause here. And then Edwards, what he does is he says this argument fails to do justice to the supporter of the infinite series of causes. Aquinas has failed to distinguish between two statements. Whether the first one did not exist, and A is not uncaused. Basically, it was caused. And to say that the series is infinite implies that A is not uncaused. The first cause is not uncaused, but it does not imply that A does not exist. So, basically what's being said here is that we cannot have this sort of infinite regress for one thing. And then he goes through that, and then what I thought was kind of interesting, what Paul Edwards was saying, is that it has frequently been pointed out that even if this argument were sound, it would not establish the existence of God if there was a first cause. First of all, if there was a first cause, the cosmological argument, the causal theory, does not really argue that there's a cause that has the characteristics that a God form has. And then another thing he says is that the possibility of that there is no one first cause, but rather a bunch of first causes. Now that I find interesting, for one thing. Okay, and then the second one is the argument from contingency. This argument says that basically that it also has a certain infinite series backwards, but it's not of causes, but it's saying that Y, being Y, is contingent on the existence of being X, and then X's existence is contingent on the being of the one before that. So then we have this stack of beings that are contingent upon each other, and we have like for instance, like it's a stack of books, for one thing. Let's say this book is on the floor or on the table. This book being up here is contingent on this book being there, and this book being here is contingent on this book being there, and everyone. This book being there is contingent on this book being there, and of course, this book being there is contingent on this book being there. And let me find where it talks about the. Okay. It may be stated more fully in these words. All around us we perceive contingent beings. This includes all physical objects and also all human minds. In calling them contingent, we mean that they might not have existed. We mean that the universe can be conceived without this or that physical object, without this or that human being, however certain their actual existence may be. These contingent beings we can trace back to other contingent beings, e.g., a human being to his parents. However, since these other beings are also contingent, they do not provide a real or full explanation. The contingent beings we originally wanted explained have not yet become intelligible. Since the beings to which they have been traced back are no more necessary than they were. It is just as true of our parents, for example, as it is of ourselves, that they might not have existed. We can then probably explain the contingent beings around us only by tracing them back ultimately to some necessary being, to something which exists necessarily, which has the reason for its existence within itself. The existence of contingent beings, in other words, implies the existence of a necessary being. Now, I want to compare the causal argument and the argument from contingency by Samuel Clarke. They both go back in an infinite regress, unless we have a first one, I guess. Now, this is something that I've seen before. There's this possibility where if we have all these causes or we have all these contingent beings in this, chain or in this regress chain, it can be inferred that because of all the, for instance, all the causes that we have in this big chain here, that we can infer that there's some sort of uncaused causer that is made out of this whole thing. Now this is what is often called the fallacy of composition. But really, the set is no more than the members of the set itself. That's why they call it the fallacy of composition, because people who think this way are gonna think that we have this sort of more meaning to this regress of this class or set than the members of it itself, which is wrong. And this is the fallacy with the argument from, this is the fallacy that can be often had from the argument from contingency also, is that it can often be inferred that because we have all these contingent beings in this huge set of infinite regressive contingency, that we are able to have this sort of necessary being because of what's in that class or set. And then Edwards, he discusses this form of cosmological argument is even more beset with difficulty in the causal variety. In the first place, there's the objection stated with great force by Kant, that it really commits to the same error as the ontological argument, that in tacitly regarding existence as an attribute or characteristic. To say that there is a necessary being is to say that it would be a self-contradiction to deny its existence. This would mean that at least one existential statement is a necessary truth, and this in turn presupposes that in at least one case existence is contained in a concept, but only a characteristic can be contained in a concept, and it has seemed plain to most philosophers since Kant that existence is not a characteristic, that it can hence never be contained. Um, in a concept, and that hence no existential statement can never be a necessary truth. To talk about anything existing necessarily is, in their view, about as sensible as to talk about round squares, and they have concluded that contingency argument is quite absurd. And I'm going to say that about both of them, actually. But first, I want to discuss something that I kind of forgot here, is that Paul Edwards here, he kind of discusses as well as Aquinas in a way. But Paul Edwards uses the word causes in fieri and causes in esse. A cause in fieri is something as much as X caused Y because X is the parent of Y. A cause in fieri is a cause of something to just merely to start to exist. X being the parent of Y caused Y to exist, just to start existing. And now this is something to think about here, and this is what is thought about in the causal argument more than others. And is this sort of regressive causes in fieri, is this something that is absurd? And Paul Edwards says no, that this is not something that is absurd, but I'm thinking that any infinite regress is most likely, incredibly problematic. And then there's causes in esse, which are causes that cause a certain thing to continue to exist. And to have a first cause which causes other things in the chain to exist, to continue to exist, and is a cause in esse, that is something that is actually absurd. And apparently, I can't remember. Aquinas, he was one who was trying to create a causal chain back to a first cause in esse. And now that is something I would find absurd, because we have things that exist, and it would become difficult to see how that would work. But I guess I don't find that absurd, I guess, because I don't see it in a line, in a regressive lining of lines. I don't see any of this. Now, I guess there's one very interesting remark that he makes in this whole thing, if I can find it, but let me find it here. Okay, here we go. It is far more from plausible, on the other hand, to claim that all natural objects require a cause in esse. It may be granted that the air around us is a cause in esse of human life, and further, that certain gravitational forces are among the causes in esse of the air being where it is. But when we come to gravitational forces, or at any rate, to material particles like atoms or electrons, it is difficult to see what cause in esse they require. To those not already convinced of the need for a supernatural first cause, some of the remarks by Professor is it? Okay, here's what I can't find it, but I know what it was. Which is the reason I'm talking about this whole article. The whole comment was that it might not be a first cause, but it might be a first causes. Now this is going to make me refer to the coherence theory of truth, or the coherence theory of knowledge. I'm going to refer to the coherence theory of knowledge because I'm more read up on that. The coherence theory of knowledge is, I mean, if you know foundationals, and this is the first, we're talking about a belief that has no need for a ground, that is grounded, that is a ground in itself, and has no need for a justification. It is, it's a freestanding belief that you can build other beliefs on top of. Now, that's foundationalism, because a belief like that would be a foundation for other beliefs. But a coherence theory of knowledge is where we have a group of beliefs, a coherent system of beliefs that dovetail and justify each other in how they stand between each other. They justify each other. Now, how that works is there's so much, like, I can't believe I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to try and really, do a whole epistemology series, but it's just, I have so many series going already. But this is very, very interesting topic for me. It's very interesting just to talk about why the coherence theory of knowledge does or does not work. But that we're talking about here, a group of beliefs which help to justify each other and help to make the whole system clean and justified. Now, to relate this to causes or contingency, I'm gonna talk about here contingency, because I can relate this to both. To contingency, I'm talking about the fact that we can have many beings within one huge group of beings, or one small group of beings. But if it's a huge group of beings, the group of beings are contingent upon each other. Now, that seems difficult because of the concepts in metaphysics of necessary and contingent. But I'm more thinking about a small group of contingent beliefs. Now, I'm not saying that this little group of contingent beliefs makes a necessary belief, because it doesn't. That's the fallacy of composition. I'm talking about how we have a few certain beings that are contingent upon each other, and that creates a little system which is not a necessary being itself, but it can serve as a foundation which makes it not a infinite regressive contingency. On the other hand, within the causal idea, we can have a group of causes, which these are a group of beings where each being helps cause each other. No being, being A doesn't directly cause B doesn't directly cause C, but each A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all these beings in this small group justify each other by way of how they stand. Now, that's one thing he didn't say the word coherence or anything. He just said that it's possible for not just a one first cause or for a first uncaused causer. He talked about he had one little remark in here, how it's possible for it to be a group of beings that are a first cause, and that is gonna it's not gonna do anything to justify the existence of a God. But it's more gonna be a defense for things like evolution in the Big Bang, which is beings or causes, which, because I honestly think that if the Big Bang and if evolution are how this world came to be, then there are many different causes or beings and causes, I guess, that stand in coherent relation to each other and helped equally cause, the first stages of the Big Bang, or the first stages of life. And I guess I can't believe I'm saying that, and I can't believe I'm actually saying that, because I don't believe those things. But if we don't have a first cause here, if we don't have a first cause, and even less, we can't prove anything of a deity. But I think we would be able to prove a group of causers. I mean, they aren't a first cause, but they are causers between each other. They stand in certain coherent relation between each other, which help cause things beyond just that group of causers or of contingent beings. So I don't know. I guess for in that light, this kind of way of the cosmological argument does not work. Neither from the causal argument or from the argument from contingency. Neither of them are going to work to prove any kind of first cause, I don't think. And even further, they will not be able to prove, a deity by any means. Now, I'm going to end that here. And beyond this, there's an article left in the cosmological argument. There's a little article by William Rowe I want to read. It's a little reprinting of a examination of the cosmological argument by William Rowe. I want to discuss, and then I want to discuss the cosmological argument, which is by William Lane Craig and J.P. Moreland. Now, William Lane Craig is one of the leading Christian apologists, so that'll be fun. That'll be fun for me to read here. So yeah, I'll see you then in this series.